If you're thinking about selling your house in order to go buy a bigger home, or maybe just a home in a different neighborhood, or maybe you're thinking about buying a brand new home, there are a few mistakes that you do not want to make, because if you do, it could mess the whole thing up. Before we get started though, if you are planning to do both, to buy and sell at the same time, be sure to watch all the way through, because the content in this video, it will be very helpful. But also, I do have a free gift that I would like to leave with you that I promise you, you're going to find very helpful for that. So first and foremost, you have to have a clear game plan and timeline in order to make that move. Listen, buying a home and selling a home, these are two very major life events. And if they're not properly synced together, you could end up, with no place to go. Something, unfortunately, I've seen too many times where people are they're rushing into something. They have to buy something, and it turns out it's not really something that they loved. Now, for me, when I am working with people that are looking to do both at the same time, the first thing I like to do is make sure that we map out a custom game plan so that we know how we're going to get to that finish line. We'll look at when to actively start marketing the house for sale, when we need to start looking for the new home, and just make sure that we have a plan in place so that move to the new home can be as smooth and as seamless as possible. Hey, real quick, if this is your first time to the channel, my name's Jose and I am your SoCal Realtor. If you are thinking about buying or selling a home, don't hesitate to reach out. My team and I, we've helped many people just like you, and we're here and ready to help with your next move too. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and get back to the rest of the video. Another mistake is being under the impression that you have to move twice. Yeah, I can't tell you how many homeowners I've talked to that's what they believe, is that you sell your house, you move into something short-term, rental, whatever the case may be, but that's not always true. Yeah, there's a few options that are available to you, such as, for instance, you could add a contingency to the house that you're selling, or you could even add a contingency on the home that you're trying to buy. Or you could do a rent back on the house that you're selling, or there's financing options. Bottom line though is that there are options. I mean, you're definitely not stuck with one choice, the dreaded I have to move twice, where you sell your house, find a short-term rental, and then go look to find the home you're gonna buy. Mistake number 3 is misjudging the market.
Okay, I misjudged that one.
It's not enough to just know what your current house is worth. Yes, that's obviously important, but there's more to it than just that. You also need to understand what kind of market you're currently in. In other words, is it a seller's market, or is it a buyer's market, or is it a balanced market? Because the strategy that you go with for either side, whether it's a buyer's market, seller's market, it could be very different. Honestly, this really is where having a local expert comes into play and benefits you, somebody that knows the market, knows whether it's a buyer's market, seller's market, and understands how to approach it. Next one, and this one, it really is a big one that I don't see a lot, if I'm being honest with you, but I do see, and that is waiting too long to get pre-approved. This is when you have a homeowner that they're focusing on the house that they're getting ready to sell, which first of all, you obviously have to do. You need to make sure you have it ready for sale, but they're overly focused on getting it ready for sale, getting it up on the market without taking a look at the other side of the transaction, getting prepared for the house that they're ultimately looking to buy. You do not want to wait until after you've prepared your house for sale, you've listed for sale, it's actually up for sale, it's on the market, before you start taking the next steps and talking to a lender and finding out where your purchasing power actually is at. Getting this part started early is important. You know, talking to the lender, talking with your agent, getting everything together, knowing all the numbers, knowing exactly what you're going to need for your new home. Another common mistake is not knowing the true cost for that move. Obviously, you're going to have the cost of the purchase of your new home. You're going to have closing costs for both the sale and the purchase. But there are costs to moving. I mean, do you need to hire anybody to help you with that move, or hire a moving truck or moving company, or what about a cleaning person, or maybe a cleaning company to go through and clean up your house that you're selling? Or what about storage, right? Do you have stuff that you're moving out of your old house that you need to put into storage before it's ready to move? Or maybe you need to put into storage because you can't even move it into your new home. Or utility costs. I mean, just the bottom line is there are costs that can come into play with that move that if you're not prepared for it, yeah, they can sneak up on you. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't move or discourage you from doing that. Not at all. If the move makes sense for you and your needs, then by all means, I mean, make the move. I just want to make sure that you're prepared, that you're planning ahead, that you're thinking ahead for all the true costs that could come into play with that move. Now this next one, we actually touched on it briefly earlier, but it is important enough that I want to make sure that we dive deeper into it, and that is contingencies. They're not impossible, but they do need to be handled correctly.
You care to elaborate?
Depending on the state of the market, it could either weaken the offer that you're making for the home that you're trying to purchase, or it could weaken the listing you have for the house that you're trying to sell. In other words, if it's a seller's market and the offer that you're making on the home you're trying to purchase, it's contingent or dependent on you being able to sell your house, it could potentially weaken your offer or just make your offer a little less attractive than another offer that maybe they received. On the flip side, if it's a buyer's market and the listing for your house, it's contingent or dependent on you being able to find a replacement home, that could potentially concern a prospective buyer for your house. Not saying you don't want to use contingencies, in fact, quite the opposite. I mean, they are a very powerful tool when you're trying to do that, when you're trying to sell your house and buy a new home both at the same time. It's just, you want to make sure that you approach it correctly, because listen, if you don't, I mean, the whole thing could blow up in your face. In fact, this one brings us back to the mistake I talked about earlier, and that is knowing the market. Because as long as you know the market, you know how to plan accordingly. And as long as you know how to plan accordingly, you'll be able to use this powerful tool, the contingency. Another mistake is trying to do this all without an expert by your side. If I haven't already said it, let me say it now. This is not a beginner level transaction. You're not just doing one or the other, buying or selling. Even if you are just doing one or the other, you still want to make sure you have somebody competent that's working with you. But we're talking about both buying and selling at the same time. You need to make sure that you have somebody that has experience in being able to do that. Somebody that has experience in being able to juggle both sides of this whole transaction at the same time. Somebody that's there to look out for your best interests, and of course somebody that can negotiate for you on both sides of this whole transaction. I'm glad you made it this far, because as I mentioned earlier, I do have a free gift for you, and that is my free report on being able to sell your house and buy a new home both at the same time. It's a quick and actionable guide to help walk you through that whole process, to be able to help you show you how to avoid some of the more common mistakes, how to avoid delays, and just how to be able to make that move without feeling overwhelmed. But you can get your free report by just clicking the link in the description section below. Of course, though, if you do have any questions at all, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a home, my contact information is also below. Feel free to reach out. Otherwise, until then, we'll catch you on the next one.